I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. And all my days I've been held in your hand. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. 'Cause all my life you have been faithful, and all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You will lead me through the fire, and in darkest night you were close like no other. I've known you as a father, I've known you as a friend, and I have lived in the goodness of God, yeah. And all my life you have been faithful. Oh, and all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God, yeah. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after.
My name's Felix Ilawagbon Omobude, born in the village of Owa, now called Ewobanosa, in Oriawa local government of Edo State, some 76 years ago. Like you know, I'm a pastor. I really did not celebrate anything. I only recognize that it is 50 years since I started preaching the gospel.
I will sing of the goodness.
Well, in those days, after receiving Christ, we were taught to be baptized by immersion and to receive the baptism of the Holy Spirit. Thereafter, every believer was ordained or sent to preach. So, as a very young believer, I started evangelism, and in my heart was just to share the love of God, the love of Christ that saved me and changed my life, to share this life with other people. We were also taught that evangelism is the heart. I mean, what touches God's heart is number one assignment for every believer. This drove us in our quest to please God, to do the will of God, to take the gospel to the streets, to hotels, to schools, to motor parks and garages, as it were in those days. I had no inkling that I would become a pastor. I was a civil servant, and the urge to please God and to do His will was what propelled us. The Gospel Light International Ministry only came some years after I started out in Church of God Mission, first as an usher. Then we started a young people evangelistic group, which was called the Soldiers of Christ Evangelistic Association. Our mission then was to study the Bible. We prayed and fasted every week. Then evangelism, which took us to several parts of this country. In the then Midwest state, in the eastern part of the country, and up to as far as Bauchi in the north. Evangelism and crusading was our main focus, and we did this from our various workplaces. Every weekend we went out, not considering whether you could be paid or not. So we cooked our meals by ourselves, we slept in classrooms, and that was it. Then I was ordained a deacon in Church of God Mission. Not the first deacon that was unmarried. I wasn't married then. I was ordained first a deacon. Then we built the Miracle Center at Airport Road. And my pastor then asked me to stay in Yaro and pastor the church with one Englishman, a missionary, Reverend Phil Williamson, who worked with me. We worked together to pastor the church at Yaro. Phil Williamson eventually left, and I pastored the Yaro church for about 15 years. So during this period, of course, I ran a radio program which was called Gospel Light. It went around all over the state and around the country. That was first where the idea of Gospel Light came in. Well, like every other endeavor in life, I mean, in life there are undulations. some high and low periods. There are challenges. The ministry is also not exempted from the challenges of life. The most important thing is to know God for yourself and to put Him first in everything. Human beings will continue to be human beings. People you trust can turn around and turn their back on you. You know, sometimes expectations are not met. But if you know God for yourself and focus on His calling for your life, you are able to overcome these challenges. Well, I started ministry on part-time before I married my wife. I was staying in my uncle's house in a room and parlor that I rented. I made it very clear to my wife from the onset the kind of job that I do and my mission and vision for life. We learn to separate from the very beginning what belongs to church and what belongs to us. So I give church time to church. I attend to people. I try to be as caring as possible. We invested our resources to the best of our ability as a family, because we could not be telling other people to do it and we stayed out of it. So that understanding was there. Of course, my wife knows God also for herself, and she understood what I was doing and complemented every process on the way. When we began to settle down, and we had first Ebenezer and some other family members around us. I've had a lot of them that grew at our house. There are family values that we have upheld and still upholding. So our busyness in the church, no matter, when we come home, we are home. And that has been the driving force. Well, I believe that good friends are blessings from God. Over the years, I look at, there are some we started together that fell on the way very sadly. And there are those that have been tested. They've gone through testing, they've gone through the mill. Their love for Christ and for His kingdom has never been in doubt. So it's been a blessing for me to have friends like that who, when you are rejoicing, of course they rejoice with you, and if you are in pains, you are not ashamed to tell them what your pains are. So such friends are very, very vital, and they are blessings from God. I can count maybe one or two. The event that led to my leaving the Church of God mission is a memorable moment. I never ever thought, it was never in my mind or thinking that I will separate, because the mission has given me much. They trained me. Archbishop Idahosa was my pastor, and most of the things that I know today, I learned from him. So apart from that, he took me as a son, and I looked up to him as a father. I will not go into the events, but that event is memorable. I look at it today, painful as some of those experiences were. God had in mind the Gospel Light International Ministries that he wanted to bear. God had in mind the New Covenant Gospel Church. And those events, in my mind, were orchestrated by God to let me step out and express myself in him. Well, I can tell you absolutely, I have no regret following Jesus. I have no regret doing the work that I'm doing. Are there things I would have done differently? Yes. Maybe from the experiences I've gotten, I could have approached some issues maybe more maturely or differently. We are growing daily, but absolutely no regret at all. Well, the Gospel Light International Ministries, our first meeting was in my sitting room off Textile Mill Road with about 12 people. Then the growth process started. The sitting room couldn't take us. We went to the back of my house, went to Nifo and cut palm leaves and made a bamboo shade behind my house. We were there for 1 or 2 weeks. Then God opened the door at Edre Hotel along TV Road. The first official service that we heard as a church was on January the 3rd, 1988. So, with so little, I have seen the church grow. Very soon, that every hotel hall became too small. Then we moved to First Federal Road in Uselu. And very soon the place was jammed and running 2 services before we built His glory. Now, all through this, evangelism remains our focus. Church planting. A number of churches planted have been in Benin City, all around Benin, and around major towns in the country, and now outside. So in 50 years, with all that we see and the grace of God that has spoken so loudly and clearly, in the years we have been, we are grateful to God. My dream and the focus of the ministry is expressed in our vision to spread the light of the gospel wherever man is found. That's our vision. And our mission statement says, we shine this light in a dark world, and we ignite other people through evangelism, and then we build a community or a nation of light bearers. So the task of spreading the light remains the goal of this ministry. And I pray and hope that this light will continue to shine even in generations following us, that they will run with it, that the light will not quench in their hands. 50 years along the line, the light would have spread all over the nook and cranny of this country, the African continent, and the world. That's my dream. Where was my wisdom? I don't claim to have arrived, but certainly there are things that we did that probably in the context of today's ministry will be done a little bit differently. And that in a world where material possessions is the name of the game, we want to prove that God still raises up men who are credible, who are reliable, men that are true men of God, men who mean what they say and say what they mean, men who can match their words with their lives. I think that's the craving that we all strive to get. And I just pray that the generations after us will do better than we have done and draw more people closer to God than we have done. And the remaining days, years that God will give me grace, I will do this with every fiber of my being. And that's the way it is.
I will sing of the goodness of God.
Well, at 76, it feels that you count 7 and 6. I'm indeed grateful to God for His faithfulness and love. And 76, I am whole and healthy by God's grace. My memory is still very intact by the grace of God. I'm able to do the things that He has called me to do. And I feel like Caleb, who said that as 80, his strength was as if he was 40. So I'm able to do most things, and I'm just grateful to God for His graces. Well, daily routine. Every day when I wake up, of course, I spend some time in my prayer. I do my studies. If you get around me, you know that books are very important to me. So I do my studies. And I have a little gym. I go do some exercises most of the time, or some of the time, if I'm around. So at this age, I try to, the advice of those who know better, to choose what I eat. And so God's been good to me. My closing remarks will be that all those who love me should join me to praise God for His faithfulness to me all through these years. There have been times that I thought we couldn't make it to the next day. But He has been there. So the giver of life, the giver of all grace, deserve all the praise and all the glory. I also must thank my wife, Abiola Mobude, for being such a pillar of strength. My children, God has blessed me with very godly children. They are serving God not because they are pastors' children. They have established that they know God for themselves. And I'm happy for that. I thank all our leaders and all across the country for the respect they have shown to me and their kindness. Leaders of various denominations and people in politics and business that have helped in one way or the other to make the ministry easier for me. I thank all of them. I thank all my staff, all of you that are helping to hold my hand. May God bless everyone. I pray for our nation. My desire and prayer is that we bequeath a better nation to our children, a nation where there is peace and safety, a nation where the economy is stable and people can leave school and find jobs to do, a nation where truth and justice reign. This is my dream.